Hunting for treasure isn't something just reserved for the movies. From coast to coast, artifacts from sunken shipwrecks have captivated treasure hunters for hundreds of years. And even today, some companies across the country are fully invested in finding these artifacts commercially. But while some see it as a free-for-all, others argue they're stealing from historical sites. So in tonight's Prime Focus, ABC's Jay O'Brien traveled off the coast of Florida to follow one company's search for the mother lode.
The Florida Keys. This is where our journey begins. One of the biggest collections of untouched shipwrecks in the world. Traveling more than an hour from shore, finally, our destination comes into view. The Dare, a ship owned by the company Mel Fisher's Treasures, which has spent half a century in these waters looking for the mother lode. Beneath the waves, they say, are riches from the Nuestra Senora de Atocha, a Spanish galleon loaded down with gold, silver, and gemstones, which sank off the Florida coast in 1622. Its cargo now scattered across the ocean floor by centuries of storms.
We're pulling up to the salvage ship right now. There it is in the distance. We're about 30 miles off of Key West. There's a debris field, they tell us, that stretches for tens of miles from that wreck. And right around here is where they tell us the treasure is.
As we pull up, the crew is preparing to go out on another dive. Anticipation is high today. It always is, the crew tells us. One dive could make millions.
Welcome aboard, gentlemen.
The Dare's captain, Vince Trotta, has led hundreds of these expeditions, treasure hunting in different parts of the world for 4 decades.
People say, well, oh, you're still doing it? I'm like, yeah.
Because there's money out there.
Yeah.
He showed us this priceless deep green emerald he once found. Exactly what he sends his divers in to look for.
Find some gold.
Armed with metal detectors, sometimes sifting through the sand by hand, they're looking for the smallest glint of treasure. Whatever they find, they'll be the first person to touch it in 400 years. But despite meticulously mapping the ocean floor, Mel Fisher's, which funds these expeditions through investors who get a piece of the booty, will be the first to tell you treasure hunting is not an exact science.
We call this area the Bank of Spain.
They say it's even too hard to keep track of how often a dive is successful.
All right, buddy, show them how it's done.
Versus how many crews come up empty-handed.
Can you make money doing this?
Sure, you can make money doing it, but you have to be in it for the long haul.
Come on, that kind of seems hard to believe sometimes.
Well, you have to be in it for the long haul.
Gary Randolph is Mel Fisher's vice president and director of operations. The company has been recovering emeralds, silver, and especially gold coins from the Atocha for decades, and even sells some of what they find. But Randolph says, according to the ship's manifest, a fortune of treasure on board has never been found.
We're still looking for another approximately $500 million worth in today's value of treasure.
$500 million.
$500 million.
Is still out there on the bottom of the ocean?
Still out there.
But to many, Randolph's company and the others like it across the globe are more than fortune seekers. They're pirates.
Pirates!
Not like the movies, but a modern-day version accused by archaeologists of pilfering sunken shipwrecks for their own financial gain.
They're bottom feeders.
Bottom feeders.
Bottom feeders, because they're feeding on shipwrecks on the bottom of the sea.
Paul Johnston, the curator of maritime history at the Smithsonian, has been fighting treasure hunters his entire professional career. He accuses the industry of destroying shipwrecks to get at the gold, even breaking historically significant artifacts in the process, and explains that's why most of the world's prestigious museums, like the Smithsonian, reject artifacts that were discovered by treasure hunters.
Treasure hunters don't want to conserve things. It takes too long and it costs too much money to do it. And so they just want to raise, rinse, and retail the finds they do.
Let me give you a few descriptions that I've heard and read about what you do for a living.
Okay.
Pirates, bottom feeders, in it for the money. They just want to bring up the gold.
Okay. Was that your experience yesterday on the boat?
What we saw exactly were these artifacts kept in salt water in this bucket. Trotta showed us each was individually numbered and tagged, and the company says they will eventually be taken to a lab. Some may even be displayed in the private Mel Fisher's museum. But several professional archaeologists we asked still balked at that explanation. They're worried the company's methods of digging through the sand are too aggressive, and told us the very act of taking an artifact out of the water without first meticulously studying the area it came from ruins the historical value.
Every shipwreck is a time capsule. When it goes down, it represents a piece of culture, a piece of society, a split moment.
That criticism hasn't scared off Jeff Hummel, whose Seattle-based crew represents a new breed of treasure hunting. Just don't call him a treasure hunter.
I'm more of a history explorer.
You don't consider yourself a treasure hunter?
No. And that's because I've met treasure hunters.
A former software engineer, Hummel's company, Rockfish Inc., used these custom-made submersible robots to locate this, the wreck of the SS Pacific, which sank in the 1870s, sending millions of dollars of gold rush riches to the ocean floor off Washington state. Robotics specialist Sarah Haberstroh was one of the first people to see the ship in 150 years.
It was incredible. It was so cool to actually see it, you know. To see the ship itself.
Inside the Pacific are perfectly preserved artifacts, Hummel claims, and he too wants to put them in a museum. The gold is just a way to pay the bills, he says, but some federal authorities don't see it that way. There's been a steady stream of red tape Hummel says he's had to cut through, designed, he believes, to put a stranglehold around new treasure hunting operations.
Definitely trying to make it more difficult. They would like to see us not undertake the kind of endeavors that we're involved with.
They think you're a pirate.
Absolutely they do.
Are you a pirate?
No. Look at how our artifacts are going to be treated. Look how the collection is being treated. No. We're absolutely not pirates.
Big institutions and kind of look down their nose at us in the commercial salvage business that say, you know, you're doing something bad, you shouldn't be doing that. Only we should be doing that. But if you left it to government agencies, I think they would leave it, as they say, in situ, and it would just rot and go away.
Gary Randolph's company is used to fighting City Hall. 40 years ago, its namesake, Mel Fisher himself, went all the way to the Supreme Court, fighting against the state of Florida for ownership of the Atocha wreck and its riches. And he won. They've been pulling up treasure ever since. But nowadays, every dig, every dive is under scrutiny like never before, Randolph says.
There's a lot of folks out there who don't like what you do.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I think there's more that actually really enjoy what we do, because it's exciting. You know, it's the fun, romance, and adventure, as Mel would say, of, you know, the American dream.
Do you think this industry will always exist?
I think it'll gradually diminish as nations restrict unmitigated treasure recovery. Yeah, I think eventually it will end.
But back on board the Dare, they haven't stopped searching for the mother lode. And when those divers we saw jump in finally return,
Good.
disappointment. No gold this time, just a few pieces of coral. On to the next dive.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.